So Eddie Howe has just met the press here at the Newcastle United Media Centre ahead of that big game against Leicester City at the weekend, and I think really it's a huge game for Newcastle, just in the respect that they're on that awful run, and on the back of that defeat against Brentford, you know, a response is absolutely needed. In the press conference, Eddie Howe was basically asked if he was under pressure as Newcastle boss, and basically gave the inevitable answer, which was, as a manager, he's always going to be under pressure. He's always going to be, you know, looking for that next result. And I know for a fact Eddie Howe isn't the type of manager who revels in the success of a win for long. I would say he probably gives himself about an hour and a half to enjoy it, and then quickly moves on to the next game. So I think that can, you know, his sort of thirst to find answers for the next game is always going to be apparent as Newcastle manager. So I think, yes, Newcastle need a result. Is the Leicester game a must win? Yeah, probably is, given the fact that, you know, Newcastle now have 1 in 4. That Nottingham Forest victory before the international break now seems like a long time ago, in sort of November. And really a pivotal week is ahead now for Newcastle. You know, Leicester City at home and then Brentford in the cup, and you know, both those games can really, you know, change the whole complexion of the season really, especially the Brentford Cup game. Getting to a semi-final just alters the perception of everything really. A lot of people talk about, you know, Newcastle changing managers and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, this is a long-term project here, and that's what's been discussed for many weeks since Eddie Howe, you know, the confirmation of his long-term contract was confirmed by Darren Eales back in the summer. So it doesn't feel internally like they're even thinking about that at the moment. It's not something that seems to be on the agenda. If Newcastle, you know, didn't get through in the cup and continue to lose games, then, you know, the conversation probably does change game. But at the minute, Newcastle are in a position where they can certainly, you know, turn things around, and Eddie Howe's renowned for that down the years. I asked him about the sort of games that were the turning points in his Newcastle United career. Obviously his first win against Burnley was a massive one because it sort of sparked Newcastle United staying in the Premier League. And I think there was last season, there was games where, you know, Newcastle were questioned. They went on a losing streak at the start of the season, then they went to Sheffield United and won 8-0, and that proved to be a bit of a turning point as well. Newcastle pushed on from that point as well. So you can talk about managers being under pressure, but at the end of the day, I think Newcastle are in a position now where they can push on and, you know, change the season, change the narrative of the season. I think that's what Eddie Howe is trying to do in this big game against Leicester at the weekend. Home game, decent game for them. Let's hope they can do it this weekend. You know, Newcastle now sitting in 12th in the table, and, you know, there's teams just coming up behind them now. You know, the likes of West Ham are only 2 points behind Newcastle United now in the Premier League. You know, that can't be classed as a good thing given the season that West Ham have had. Eddie Howe knows he's going to be without Callum Wilson now until February. He knows that Nick Pope could be missing from this game against Leicester because of a knee injury. He's seen a specialist today, so that would suggest that he probably won't be in action against Leicester this weekend, meaning Martin Dubravka comes back in between the posts, who has, you know, been a great deputy for Newcastle down the years, and he's going to have to do it again now as Newcastle go into this long hard winter. Eddie Howe asked himself if he was under any pressure. Said that he always feels under pressure. He's always trying to get that next result, and he doesn't see this as anything untoward. He just sees Newcastle United as trying to kick on and turn the corner, which they have done in the past with success. So big week ahead, 2 games that can change the sort of, they can be season defining really, beating Leicester and beating Brentford in the Carabao Cup, 2 huge games. But now Newcastle do have to dig deep and find their best form, and Eddie Howe does not need to be reminded about that at the moment. So Eddie Howe making a few things clear here today at the press conference ahead of that game against Leicester City. One, that we know Callum Wilson now is going to be missing for at least 8 weeks after a big injury blow from that Brentford game, picking it up late in the match. And then obviously Nick Pope as well, picking up a knee injury, which means he's going to have to see a specialist, which means Newcastle United are probably going to have to look at bringing in a replacement for that game against Leicester. So look, the one thing is Newcastle United have got plenty of options in the goalkeeping department. Martin Dubravka would probably be the favourite to step in. So two big blows there. Joe Willock facing late fitness tests in training today. He hasn't trained all week after a hamstring injury which ruled him out at Brentford. So the injuries are piling up for Newcastle now. We're going in that crucial festive stage. But for Eddie Howe, I think he knows, this game can be a turning point for him.